Hi, welcome back. I hope that you took the time to learn the alphanumeric code, the secret code of memory. I cannot stress enough to you that in order for you to become skill functional with memory at the speed of sight, you're going to have to take the time, and it won't be a lot, and the dividends that will be paid for any of the time that you invest into developing this skill into you, it's going to pay back, I swear to you, 1,000-fold in the ease of learning and the ease of recall and in the ease, I think, of understanding how to express you. I think that your communication will be enhanced, your speech, your enunciation, your pronunciation, your vocabulary, everything about your mental force and the way that you appear to others is going to be enhanced because of the new level of skill function that you're going to achieve through this alphanumeric system. As you follow it up with not only the mechanics of the alphanumeric code, but then phototelegenics, the ability to project your thoughts out and see them. The idea that ophthalmologists have called an afterimage for decades. We realize now that this phenomena of an afterimage is very profound. That little children who can project their thoughts, they see imaginary friends, that's very real for them, that they see them, they hear them, they taste them, they smell them. They are dreaming while they are awake. And today, in the neurosciences, that's called a theta state. You see, your brain works on electrical current. We can measure the wave energy of current going through your brain and can determine your consciousness, your level of awareness. An alpha state is, say, 6 to 8 hertz of microelectric energy, and we can measure that. A beta state is a little higher. You know, what's interesting is a delta state, that's where you're totally gone into sleep. A theta state is the state of imagination and fantasy. A theta state is when you are dreaming. And even though we do that when we sleep at night, little children do it automatically when they're awake. Their eyes will slightly diffuse or diverge. A neurocyberoptic viewing grid or pattern is set up in the brain. More on that in just a moment as we get into neurocyberoptics and the theta graphs that we've created to help induce that state for you, to help build the centers of imagination and fantasy and learning and creativity. But what's interesting about this whole process is the alphanumeric code is the foundation stone, because it will force you in a fun, creative way to picture things in your mind consciously, consistently, imaginatively, in order to learn and to recall. It's what children do automatically. But we're going to go back and give that automatic creatomagus, the center of creativity, a place to express the 7 principles of imagination as it applies to the learning state. The alphanumeric code, when you learn that code and know it like the back of your hand, you know it inside and out, when it becomes second nature to you and you don't have to give it any extra effort or thought to come up with it, that's when you're going to start to experience memory at the speed of sight, at light speed. The alphanumeric code can be practiced when you drive in your car. If you're driving along and you see license plates with numbers, decode them into the sounds, into the letters. If you see a sign on a billboard, such as "Drink Coke," try to make the numerical values of those words before you go past it in the car. You'll get faster and faster at doing this. If you're sitting and waiting in line somewhere, or in an office somewhere, look around the room and come up with the numerical values of the things that your eyes see. Wall, that's the number 5. Ceiling, 057. Door, 14. House, 0. Go through and do the code in your head to everything. What is the number of your name? My name is Don. That's 1 and 2, 12. What about Bob? 99. You see, you can practice this code wherever you are because you have it right here with you wherever you go. And the more you practice it, the more second nature it becomes. That's when your skill is going to come upon you in such a way that it becomes second nature. And that's when you'll begin to appear to yourself and to others, literally, as being genius, as being gifted, as being far beyond us regular mortals. That's what the speed of sight does for you. You'll look for things to memorize. You'll look for things to read and to study and to absorb and to have as an organic part of you. Rather than avoiding tests, you'll look forward to them to test your new skills. Honestly, it's an exciting process. Remember when I shared with you that A, E, I, O, and U have no value in this system? That's because to the ancient Hebrews, those sounds represented the 5 senses, the 5 points of fellowship of the temple or the building, that which helps you to embrace that which is without you. Those sounds were considered the sounds of spirit. In the Latin, spirit means breath or air, to breathe. And if you'll notice, when you pronounce A, E, I, O, U, there is not a blocking of air. The air or the spirit moves freely. When you pronounce a consonant, such as D or TH, those are diphthongs, you block the air. D, th. But in the vowel sounds, there is no blockage. So let me give you one last thing on that code. When you come across the sounds of W, H, and Y symbolizes quest or question. The 7 stars of Pleiades, the 7 sisters in the quest of mankind. W, H, and Y act as vowels in this system. A, E, I, O, U, W, H, Y. And so they have no value in this system either. Now, one last word on this alphanumeric code, and then a couple examples of how you can apply it, because that's the big thing, is application. How do I use this? Great, it's a secret code, and I know it. So what? The so what is going to come to you as you practice some of these things, but most importantly, as you go back into the workbooks, as you listen to the audio tapes, you will learn more about application, and your imagination will begin to kick in as you see how to apply this according to your needs in your life, because that's what's important. Let me give you an example. If I wanted to memorize a phone number, such as my phone number down at Pyceon Farms, my phone number there is 314-729-6686. Now, if you pull out the 1100 root-based vocabulary, you'll see that there's a word that represents the 314, a word that represents the 729, and a word that can represent 668 or 66 or 6 and 686. You can put this together in various combinations. Let's try the word mother. I'm always referring to the Mother Earth. And we feel at Pyceon Farms that we're dealing with our mother, the earth. And we want to create a place there where fresh fruits and vegetables, according to the signs of their nature, their signature, a doctrine that was taught anciently, which I'll tell you about in just a moment more on that her principles, we want to try to bring about a consciousness towards those things where health and life comes from. Maybe health and life doesn't come out of bottles. Maybe it doesn't even come out of vaccines. Maybe health and life comes from a good diet and exercise and a healthy attitude and strong emotional stabilities. You know, and so that's what we want to approach. But let's look at this first part here, 314. The word mother fits that. M is 3 according to the secret code. O has no value. TH is 1. E has no value. And R is 4. So if you're going to call Pyceon Farms, where they want to honor the Earth Mother and her principles, think of that. I'm going to dial mother. According to the code, you're standing at the phone, you think mother. That's 3, 1, 4. So that's the area code. Then you come over to 729. And I'm going to stop there. I want you to go to the code and figure out the words that could fit this, and goes back in to what we're doing at Pyceon Farm. See if you can do it. You might have to use either 72 plus 9 or 729 or 7 and 29. If you use 7, that can be cow. 29 can be knob. Or you can use 72, which is can. Or you can use 729. What is 729? You look it up. And then 6, 6, and an 8 and a 6. Or 6, 6, 8 plus 6. You go through and you take those pictures, and then you make a story between mother and 729 and 6686, whatever the words are that fit that. And what's fascinating about this, as you get good at this system, you will literally be able to meet people, hear their phone number one time, and mentally, visually tie it into them, and never have to look up their phone number again. Right now, I have inside my head, I think, somewhere around 3,500 numbers, phone numbers. And it's nice to be able, when I want to call somebody, I don't have to look it up or look around, or I just walk up to the payphone when I'm traveling and punch it in. You'll be able to do the same thing. It is so much easier than what you can imagine right now. You're going to be pleasantly surprised. Then you can apply this to just about anything. These kinds of mnemonic principles. I had a lady say to me, "My son is having such a tough time with spelling. Can you apply this to spelling?" And of course, as you see in the workbooks, you can. For instance, the word separate. Most people misspell that word. In fact, I just did. There's no E there. It's an A. What does the word separate mean? It means to push apart. So maybe for your child, you'd have them picture the letter A separating the word. Then they have something to see. And the next time they go to spell that word, they'll go S-E-P-E, whoa, A-R-A-T-E. It works. You can apply this to just about any kind of word. Take the word expense. Expense, it deals with money. So you can have them do money. Next time they spell that, they'll probably put a C and go, "Oh yeah, money." Only kidding. You got to have them think big. Okay. We could do a bunch more words and other applications, but I think that's pretty well covered in the audio and the printed materials of this program. So I'm going to stop there, except to say this, because I cannot stress this enough. You are going to have to go to the Art of Memory lithograph that looks like this. We call this the secret code. And it shows you the pictures of each of the numbers and the words that fit. It tells you a story about Einstein and a young boy. You'll be able to pick up the first 100 keywords here. But don't stop there. Go into the workbook and pick up the 1,100 keywords. Find out how this ties back into all of the ancients and what it can do for you today in today's scientific and society of technology. It's a beautiful system, and it will help you to retain as much information as you want to retain. But take this code, learn it, and go through the workbook and understand how to apply it to different things in your daily life. You're going to absolutely love it. Another thing that we've done with the secret code is that we have created another Art of Memory piece, which we call the times tables. Now, this particular piece will teach your children how to alphanumerically remember their times tables, and it's wonderful. If you look right here, you can see that there are two cows. K, that's a hard sound. That's a 7. O has no value, W has no value, and so cow equals 7. So when they see this, they know that's 7 times 7. The two cows are connected with a rope. And so we know that rope is an R and a P. That's 49. It is so fun to watch a little child learn this code and understand how to use it, because then they can learn something like their 12 times tables in about 18 minutes and know it perfectly well. We're developing a system that takes it even down to a simpler level for children, to where 4-year-olds can learn their times tables in about 20 minutes or less and know it perfectly well. So as that is developed, you contact us and we'll make sure you have access to a copy of that. Here's something else I want to share with you along these lines. As you go through the 5 full-color Art of Memory posters, you're going to be reviewing and seeing and understanding all of the systems of mnemonics that the ancients taught. Okay? This particular piece teaches you the 39 books of the Old Testament. There's no reason that we chose the Old Testament other than the names of those books are so abstract that it's like learning a foreign language. As you look at this, you and your family will be able to sit down together and have the time of your lives memorizing the books of the Old Testament, all 39 of them, in about 3.5 to 4 minutes, and know it perfectly, forward and backward, using this system. You'll see that it is mnemonically pre-imagined for you. Such as this little guy on a scooter, he's got G on the knees, and he's got an S on his t-shirt, Genie's S, Genesis. And he's kicking up dust that looks like X's and O's. It's exodust, Exodus. Behind him, there's a pair of Levi's with a bunch of ticks on it. Levi ticks. Leviticus. It's close enough. It's a mnemonic aid. It's a place to see what it is the true information is. On the back of the pants are a bunch of numbers. The book of Numbers. And it goes on. It's a lot of fun. Here's 2 mules named Sam. 1st, 2nd Samuel. Here's 2 kings. 1st, 2nd Kings. Here's 2 nickels with crowns. Crown nickels. 1st and 2nd Chronicles. And it goes on. It is so much fun to sit down with you and your family and to learn these systems, but more importantly, you pick up the curricula and then you understand how to apply it to other things that you're learning, whether it's in school, at business, socially, what have you. Speaking of business and socially, one of the greatest skills that you're going to pick up and learn is a system that we've created here that we call the name banking system. I can guarantee you that if you'll follow the name banking system in this package, you'll be able to pick up and learn from memory up to 40,000 people's names at once. You'll have it here once and for all. You'll be able to walk into a classroom of students of 40 or 50, walk through and hear their name one time, and you'll know the names of every one of those students. Why? Because we've taken mnemonic skills, which is what a lot of books and tapes and other memory programs have, but it's not quite cracked up to be what it really is, okay? Here's what's happening. Most of them just have the mnemonic side of this. I have taken 2 years of my time. I went to the Library of Congress, I went to other universities, and I dug out and I found the complete art and science of physiognomy and onomatology. Onomatology means the study of names. Do you realize that every time you hear a name, something psychologically happens to you? You decide whether you like that person according to their name. You decide what they are like according to their name. You tell me how old this person is. Her name is Beulah. How old is she? If you said 90 plus, you're right. What about Amber? Yeah, if you said anywhere from 1 or 2 years old up to 16, again, you're right. Names come in and out of fashion. We know how old people are, whether they're thin or heavy, what their personality is all about just by their name. We think we do. We may be wrong, but we get impressions. And so it's that science that is covered here. When you meet someone and hear their name, it's not going to be the same experience ever again. And the most fascinating thing that you're going to get from this is that you're going to learn the ancient secret doctrine of signatures. Let's take a look at that word real quick, signature. The word signature really comes from 2 words, sign and nature. When we put that word together in the past, signature, it literally meant the sign of something's nature. In ancient schools, in the academies of learning, before we were taught rote learning, we were taught the doctrine of signatures and how to learn. For instance, if you went to the Academy of Learning, say the library in Alexandria, Egypt, thousands of years ago, they might take a carrot and slice it and say, what do you see? And with this eye, the mind's eye, the eye of imagination, looking at a carrot, you'll see that it looks like it has a pupil and an iris and radiating lines. A carrot looks exactly like the human eye in its structure. So according to this doctrine of signatures, a young child would say, well, a carrot, the sign of its nature says that it's good as an offering to the body for the eyes. Cool. I mean, think about it. That's how they unlocked the mysteries of things and stuff around them. They looked for the signs of its nature. A little scientist 70 years ago come along. He's a biochemist, and he studied carrots, and he found out there's the color orange in there, and he decided to name it carotene, and he says, yeah, it has vitamin A. It's good for the eyes. Oh. They'd known that for thousands of years. Figs. I don't know if you've ever seen figs grow. They hang in twos, and they're full of seeds. They've always been a symbol of male fertility. They almost look like a man's figs. And it's interesting because 2 years ago at the University of California, Berkeley, a biochemist there was able to isolate in figs an element that they are now using to increase male fertility, and it works. I say, why not just eat the figs? They did the same thing with avocados 13 months ago. They're using avocados and extraction from it to regenerate female reproductive organs that have gone into decompensation or degeneration, and it works. If you look at the signature or the sign of the nature of an avocado, it looks like a female womb with a cervix, and it has one swollen seed at a time. Going by this doctrine of signatures, which was taught in antiquity, what we have done is we've taken that entire science and art and put it onto the face, because that's what they did also. You see, they believed that you grow your face, the features of your face, according to your inner nature. That if you want to change the structure of your face, you change your inner nature. And what's fascinating about this, and what we have done in this particular piece, is that we have listed, for instance, the 23 different kinds of lips, the 16 different kinds of noses, the different kinds of eyes, the eyebrows, the cheeks, the chins. I don't know if you've noticed the difference in features, but from now on you will, and you'll understand what nature those features represent. When you meet people after having studied this, and you understand the 8 basic shapes of the human face, when you meet someone, it will be an entirely different experience for you. You will observe them. You will have an automatic interest in them. You will hear their name. You will neuromotorologically assign their name to the letters by writing it in the palm of your hand, as you'll hear about on an audio tape. You'll be able to do the mnemotechnical skills of locking it away. And what's beautiful about this is that you'll be able to name bank up to 40,000 people's names and know them once and for all. Again, you'll be able to meet anywhere from 125 to 300 people at once and remember their names. Guaranteed. It's fabulous the way this thing works. Some of the other art of memory lithographs which we have here, which I'd like to share with you real briefly and quickly, is that this can be applied to things like geography. Here's the geography piece. You and your children go to the workbook and get the story behind this. It's thrilling. And once your kids start to catch on how to use this, it looks confusing to the adult eye. We think, whoa, but kids love it. They will love going in. For instance, right here, there's a doe, a deer. It has a collar around its neck. It's a Colorado or Colorado. It has dents in its fur, dent fur or Denver. It's beautiful. Kids love it, and it helps them to remember and apply imagination to the learning process. We'll jump over to another one. How about over here? It looks like a turkey that's inside of a can. It's canned turkey or Kentucky. It's kicking up some scratch from its feet onto a fort that has a frank or a hot dog in the middle of the fort. It's Frankfurt. Frankfurt canned turkey. Frankfurt, Kentucky. And what's beautiful is the kids go through this, all of a sudden, they have an understanding of how to use their own pure creata magis, their own pure intelligence, their imagination, their pool of creativity, of applying mnemonic skills from the goddess Mnemosyne of ancient times and the technology of science today in the learning process. It's a beautiful, wonderful system. And as you and your children go through this, or as you just go through it and apply it in business, in your social life, in your academic life, you're literally going to be able to learn at the speed of sight. If it's okay, I want you to go back and review all of the Art of Memory posters. There are 5 of them. Look at them. Make sure you understand them. Go through the exercise of each one. Don't just look at it and think, yeah, well, I understand. You go through each step of the way. Make it an integral part of you, an organic, sensorial, natural part of you, so that you become skill functional in what it is that we're talking about here. We'll be back with you in a moment. Thank you. The thing that you're going to have to practice and do, and it's going to be fun, is that once you understand the alphanumeric code, you understand its applications, and you can do it, you're skill functional. It's going to feel mechanical, but you'll see how fast it is. But real speed is going to come into this as you build critical mass into the different neuronal sectors of the brain that work in this process. As far as we know, it is area 39 working in tandem or sync with the ocular chiasma, it's where the optic nerves cross, and the right visual cortex. As this begins to build into critical mass, in other words, the neurons are increasing in size, the glial bridging is densifying and filling in. As you hit that, you'll become skill functional in such a way that you'll begin to experience moments of learning at the speed of sight. And what's going to get you there faster? Once you understand the 1100 root word base vocabulary of the alphanumeric system, is what we call phototelegenics, or phototeleprojection. If you were at the seminar where I presented, we had a picture, a reverse negative, of a Hollywood actress, Michelle Pfeiffer. We had you look at her image for 1 full minute. You could blink all you want. And then you looked away at a white screen and you projected the image from several feet back into the audience up onto that screen, and you could see it. Now, some of you didn't just see a black and white reversed eidetic image of the photograph. You saw flesh tones. You saw a full color photograph. And yet there was no color there. Your brain created color. Now we have a 2-foot by 3-foot poster, a lithograph, a thetagraph, called rainbows. There's no color on it, it's black and white. But as you practice looking at it, you'll see that colors fill in. You'll see that rainbows are created as you view that piece. We have actually had some people who are colorblind be able to build color back in to the visual cortex of their brain to where they are no longer colorblind by practicing looking at these color segments of just black and white paper. The telephotogenic part of this, you can get into the written materials. There will be things there for you to look at and to look away and still to see. Every time you practice that skill, you are building the neuronal structures that help that faculty to come into place as a skill. And that's one thing that you're going to need to develop. But you can get that from the written materials. The thing that I want to point out here at this time is 2 things. Number 1, some of you have heard that I've gone to Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and other places and won money and done very well playing 21. That's why in this memory package I've included a booklet there that gives you the winning strategies of blackjack and also how to count, how to remember cards to know if you're in a weak deck or a rich deck, and knowing how to place your bets, how to bankroll, how to divide it up into units, the stratagems behind that. Because I'm convinced that most of you watching this, going through this system, and going through and learning the technologies and the strategies behind cards, is that you'll be able to win the price that you've invested in investing in this particular skill in this package that you've gotten from me and my company, Interdynamics. The reason I'm holding these cards up, though, is not just to teach you winning strategies, or even really how to remember cards, although I'll show you a couple of those in just a second. In cards, there are 4 suits. One of them is a heart. So one of the ways to remember cards using the alphanumeric system of memory is this. You could come up with words, all of them beginning with H. So that if you saw an H word, you know that's a heart, card. And let's say that it's the 9 of hearts. 9 is P or B. Let's say it's a P, okay? If you put in a 0, hop. Can you picture something hopping? Sure. If the 9 of hearts came up and you saw something hop, there's hopping, you would know that's the 9 of hearts. What about the, let's take the 3 of hearts. That's M. You could say ham. Could you picture a ham? Sure. When you see the ham, you know that's a 3 of hearts. What's fascinating about this is you go through the cards, and we have this all worked out for you in the workbook. It's all this is done, so you can memorize cards. This is how fast you can get. Many of you watching this video will be able to memorize 52 cards in 60 seconds or less. A little over 1 second per card exposure, and you'll be able to memorize them. Then we'll teach you how to mentally crunch them, just to wad the card up in your mind, so that you'll know it's been played, and you'll know which ones haven't been played at any given time. It's fascinating. If you want to start winning at cards because you can remember every card that's been played, and thereby know what's still in the deck, you're going to love this system. Let's try this. Clubs. Well, you know that's going to have to start with a hard sound, so let's use a hard C. And let's say it's an 8 of clubs. Well, we know that's an F or a V. Let's say that it's cave. Can you picture a cave? Sure. Can you see the front of that cave falling in, crunching? Sure. That's how this system works. I've used this in Las Vegas and other places. I have always won playing blackjack or 21. People that I travel with in my seminars, whenever we go to a city like that, they always get me, we always go down, and I use their money and play with it and win them some money. It's a lot of fun. You can do the same thing. Now, disclaimer. I can't guarantee that you won't lose money. I wish I could. But I'm telling you, if you learn this system and use it accurately, you will win. The thing that I wanted to really express to you about these cards, we didn't include it in the report other than a brief history. You see, cards is an outgrowth of an oral tradition of memory and the principles of life that ancient cultures knew and understood. They originally came on clay tablets, thousands of years old. Eventually, the tablets were baked and made hard and passed around. They became what was called the Little Bible or the Little Book, and then eventually they were printed on paper. When someone says, "You're a real card," that's a phrase that goes back to a deck of cards, because everyone has a card that represents them and their birth date. Kind of goes back to things like astrology. If that scares you, don't send for this information. You won't want it. But if you're interested in a fun parlor game and even a rather insightful view of understanding you, send for our book that talks about the ancient symbolism of each of the cards and how it is individualized to you. One thing I'd like to point out real quickly, as you'll read about in the booklet on cards, is that the cards, the 52 cards, represent the 52 weeks of the year. The 4 suits represent the 4 seasons. In the ancient alchemic formulas, they represented the 4 elements, air, fire, earth, and water. The 13 cards in each suit represent the 13 weeks in each quarter of the year. It also represents the 13 lunar months. As it goes from the numbers 1, which is an ace, right up to the number 10, that was a process of growth of individuals. Each of the numbers had a specific meaning. It's how numbers came about, how they evolved. It wasn't just quantity that numbers represented. They represented qualities. And it's this information that we have for you if you're interested. We didn't include it simply because we knew that not everyone would be interested in this particular information. But if you'd like an in-depth study of cards, what they mean, where they came from, how it relates back to what is known as the Judeo-Christian literature of the Bible, which is fascinating. The 4 suits was Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and it goes on and on. You call us, you write us, we'll be glad to send it out to you. Along those lines, we have other products, other things that we're developing all the time. You are on our mailing list if you have called our office or if you have written us. Otherwise, we may not have your name from the promoter where you purchased this memory program. So if you'll contact us, we'll let you know about the other products that we're always developing. We have tapes on neurocybernetics and other specific subjects that you may be interested in. We have booklets, and hopefully you have one of these in your package. If you don't, you write us or call the promoter where you got your package, because you should have this. But there's something I would like you to be aware of if you're interested. I've written a book. It's called Magnus Opus. It's a little cutting edge in its thought and in its philosophy. It talks about diet. It talks about the signatures of foods and how they affect the body. It's no accident that we thumped somebody on the head and said, hey, you sure got a thick melon. Melons, according to their signature, the sign of their nature, is good as food for the brain and for thought. Do you realize that watermelons are about 93% water? The brain is 93% water. It's the same with cantaloupes and honeydews. If you want to know more about signatures, the sign of nature of things, and how it reflects back to the body, about learning, then you write us, you ask for this book, Magnus Opus. It's 444 pages, I think, of some of the most intriguing information that you will ever be exposed to in understanding we as a people, as a race, as a species, as a creation, and where it is I think that we can go. What I would like to do in closing, in my presentation here, is to give you some understandings about the dot matrix posters or neurocybernetics, which is the third part of this memory program. On the rest of this video, you're going to see about 1 minute exposure of 10 of our posters that we've created. Some of them will be the entertainment, full color pieces. Others will be the black and white pieces, because black and white is what creates activity in area 39 of the brain. It stimulates the brain to create color, form, motion, spatial concepts. It kicks in our imaginations. A lot of children's educational things are going to black and white for that purpose, because science has found out that black and white stimulates creativity and imagination. Before I present that, I want to give you an understanding of where I'm going with all of this, because some of you that have seen me speak have wondered, there has to be more to this. What is it that you're about? What are you doing? Where are you going? You've heard that we've put contracts together recently with different corporations, some of the largest corporations in the world. And we're thrilled about that, and we're going to be developing projects with them over this next 2-year period. As those things come online, we'll let you know about them. They'll be made available to you. But I would like to say this. I moved out to Missouri. I've lived most of my life in Arizona, Paradise Valley, next to Scottsdale. But a couple of years ago, I'd come out to Missouri, and I absolutely fell in love with an area known as the Ozarks. I had never heard that word before, Ozarks. It sounded melodious. And as they described it to me, it sounded like God's country. It had to beat sand and lizards and cacti. And so I rented a car and drove down through the Ozarks, spent 3 or 4 days, absolutely fell in love with the area, floated down the Current and Merrimack rivers, went down to Montauk, absolutely fell in love. I bought a farm. I have a farm there of about 150 acres. We have a option to buy another piece that's a little larger than that sits right next to it. But this piece of property has trees on it that you can't even get your arms around. There are 7 ponds. There's a wet weather stream that runs down along the bottom end. There's about 80 acres of grass. It's absolutely gorgeous. We call it Pisceon Farms. Why do I say we? Because there are other people that I have met that they've felt the same commonality to the purpose and the vision that I have and that they have, that we share together, in wanting to create here at this farm a replication of the ancient Memnonium in Thebes, Egypt, a place where people used to go to learn about colors and how they affect us physically, mentally, and emotionally. Not just color pigments in things that men have created, but the colors of the seasons, the foods that grow and the colors that they create in each season that they grow. We'll have people come down to the farm and experience 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-day fasts on just fruit juice, those colors. Some people will go 40 days on just water. I know this sounds radical to most of you. I know that you'll think, why in the world would you ever want to do that? But it goes back to memory, a calming and a purifying of the waters. You see, the ancients that looked at pools of waters and saw it perfectly calm and perfectly clear and light shining and reflecting, they knew that if you stir the water up, the images become fractured and distorted. They knew that muddy water doesn't reflect. They looked at ourselves as being pools of water, and the clearer our waters and the calmer the water, the greater the reflection. And we have come to an understanding that oftentimes our health, physically, mentally, and emotionally, really is based upon the calming and the purifying of the waters within. Now there's a section in this program that deals with aroma. And I have a couple of aromatic vials, which I would like to show you real quickly. You'll notice in your system that you have 3 of them. We call it aroma recall. The reason that we do that is this. Have you ever had a memory brought back to you because of a smell? Think about it for a minute. When you smell certain things, does it throw you back to a certain memory? Stated another way, if you've ever smelled the odor of natural gas, of course natural gas has no odor, but there's a patented smell that they use in it that no one else can use. It's protected by law. If you've ever smelled natural gas and have been anchored to the response of the danger of natural gas, every time you smell it, your heart will pound faster. Your pulse will go up. You will become excited with a feeling of imminent danger and problem. Whenever you smell that smell, you'll try to get into fresh air. You'll call 911. You'll call the gas company. Why? Because you are anchored to behaviorally respond to that odor. And it doesn't matter what you try and do, you cannot override your psychological behavioral response to that odor once you are anchored. That's the beautiful thing. You see, science has always looked for something that they could do, something they could use to help people perform a specific chosen behavior. They've tried everything from shock therapy to the system, to glasses that are strange, all kinds of things, shots, dermal patches. Nothing has ever worked for very long. Well, just in the last year, there have been breakthroughs in the study of olfaction, the act of smelling, the sensory skills of the brain when it comes to odor and smell. You see, the limbic system, almost a third of your brain is dedicated to the sense of smell. You cannot override the sense of smell. You cannot desensitize yourself to the sense of smell as you can the other senses. That's why people who want to lose weight, people who want to get rid of their anxiety, people who want to quit smoking, they can try all kinds of different things. And for the most part, it fails because they can desensitize themselves. They can walk away from it. They can ignore it. But the sense of smell, you cannot do that. The sense of smell is the most direct, anchoring sense that we have to the brain. It is immediate and it is direct. It doesn't have to go through photoelectric interpretation into an informational processing center of the brain. The sense of smell is directly connected to the brain. So what we have done, along with the research of others, is that we have created aromas that are unique in that you have never smelled them before. The reason we have to do that is if you've ever smelled a particular smell, you are already emotionally anchored to that smell. We've created smells, and these are shrunk-wrapped for a purpose. Do not smell them until you go through the audio portion of this program of listening and then watching one of the neurocyberoptic posters and going through olfaction in order to anchor a new behavior. You can use this in testing, in studying for information. You can literally assign an odor to a curricula. Let's say that you are studying botany, and that is your high level of interest, and that's what you want to learn. You're going to become a botanist or some field related to botany. Whenever you study botany, you take the smell which you have chosen to assign to that curriculum. And whenever you study that curriculum, you go through olfaction or aromatization, just periodically, every 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes as you think about it. Smell the smell as you study. You are going to be thrilled as you go through the mnemonic process, as you go through phototelegenics, as you go through the neurocyberoptic trainings, and as you start to learn at the speed of sight. You're going to be able to anchor that information to an aroma. And when you go into a botany exam, if it's a final, you take your aroma with you. And as you're taking that exam, this is what we have found. Because you were calm when you were studying and taking the information in and anchoring and locking it away, as you go into that exam and you have that smell with you, it will calm your waters. If you've ever studied from test anxiety, you are going to be stunned at the peaceful calm that you're going to feel as you go through olfaction in that testing experience. The other thing that it's going to do, and it's going to surprise you, if you come up to a question and you know the answer, but you don't quite have an anchor on it, go through the aroma faction on this thing. 9 times out of 10, it will connect it for you. It will anchor the memory of the study of that material in that moment. The name of this program is Sensory Motor Aroma Recall Technologies. As you go through the theta mentography part of this program, where you're going to learn how to anchor smells and sights to behaviors and then recall to aromas, you will have a full, holistic program at your disposal. You'll have it as part of your arsenal in being able to attack any study or behavioral problem that you'll ever be faced with. If you want to stop smoking, you want to get rid of anxiety, you want to lose weight, you want to improve relationships, there's some specific behavior that as an athlete you want to anchor in on as you go into competition, you'll be able to operate the sensory motor mechanisms within yourself through the sense of smell and through theta mentography training and programming, which you have in this system. I appreciate the investment that you have made in this program, a financial investment, and now it's important for you to make the time investment, 30 minutes a day for 30 days, to become functional as you can be with memory at the speed of sight in order to conquer all of the behaviors that you need to perform in order to achieve the success that you seek. One last thought on this is be sure and study the information behind the aroma, behind our natures of our need to avoid pain, our desire to gain pleasure, how it is that we try to avoid the pain of change instead of gaining the pleasure of achievement. You're going to understand the whole technology behind success, the sweet smell of success. One last thing I want to do, and that is invite you to join me in one of our seminars, one of our cruises, one of our workshops. We call it an intensive. We call it an advancement. I used to call these things a retreat. And then I had a little 7-year-old girl who was attending say, "What are you retreating from?" Kind of hit me hard, and I decided, well, I guess we're not retreating. We're advancing. So we call them an advancement. We do seminars at sea, the waters of reflection, a cruise. Write us, call us, ask us about these things. We'll send information to you about our workshops, our intensives, our cruises. We would love to be with you and give you as much training and exposure to this as we possibly can. We are dedicated to the love and the happiness and the success of individuals everywhere. Our mission statement is to help as many people as we possibly can in this next decade to learn memory at the speed of sight and behavior at the power of will. I look forward to seeing you again. This is Don Tolman. Thank you very, very much.